Welcome to Timber&Terra. I'm Glenn. This video will be sort of haphazard. It's going to be a lot of little things, I think. I'm really not sure what it's going to be, but it'll be the nature of sort of cleaning up loose ends. So rather than me trying to tell you what it might contain, let's just get right into it. The last video I did, you might have seen, I processed some logs from this pile here. Basically one cord, which is two of those racks. Cut them up on the firewood table here and then split the ones that we need to on that splitter. But to do any more firewood, I need to move the trailer back, and since I had to hook the tractor up to move it back, I might as well go collect some of those logs out there. So I have a small pile there, you can see. I have a few that I've cut recently along the edge of that field that we'll get, as well as a larger pile in there. I'm guessing what I have just in that field there will fill up this bunk without me having to go into the woods. So I'll explain a little bit of what I'm doing out there. This is the area that it was, I think, late last fall where I had a bunch of blowdowns from the popple over there. I had removed the stone wall, removed a lot of the sort of the anchor for the roots, and a western wind came along and uprooted a lot of them, and it was sort of a domino effect. At the time, I did record sort of cutting these up and dragging them out. The material I collected is that pile over there next to the road that I'll get on the way out. But there were some leaners that really weren't blown completely over that I decided to take down. But here are the root balls that were basically tipped up as the ground is thawed. A lot of them have sort of made their way back down into the earth the way they came. So these two here I didn't cut off because I'm going to come through here and clean this up this summer with my excavator. So the theme here is going to be similar to down there. You can see my neighbor right over here. Some of his buildings, you can see the blue lines. Those are sap lines from his maple trees. So what I'd like to do here is eliminate a lot of the deciduous trees, particularly red maple and mostly the gray birch, which I've done over the years, and allow the fir to grow. Not that I don't like my neighbor, but I just soon have that sound and visual barrier between my property and his. I guess as much for his sake as mine. At some point I'll probably have a driveway that'll sort of skirt the side of this property line. You can see the pink ribbons denote the property line. Through this little grove of what's left of the popple trees, and then to the the town road, to build my retirement house out here somewhere. So this wasn't the end of the world. When these trees blew over, gave me some decent firewood. It allowed me to sort of allow these fir trees that were sort of growing in the understory to grow up now, which they will. I mean, there's so much more obvious now than they were before. And we'll see that same theme as I collect a couple more logs down that way. But I have gone through here once, and there are a lot of gray birch that I cut, that I've removed. Some of them have resprouted, and I've removed those, and there were some popples that were sort of an overstory or canopy blocking a little bit of the light of these firs. So I think I've made progress. This is probably maybe 3 to 5 years ago that I started clearing the deciduous trees along this property line. I think it's already made a difference. So obviously a lot of these fir were here long before I started clearing the deciduous trees, mostly, like I said, the gray birch. So this was the poplar that I dropped. That was actually a beech tree there close to the rock wall. But you can see, I think in the last several years, the growth has really taken off because of the extra light they've received. So a lot of them, if they're not big enough for firewood, I just cut them up and deaden them. Like you can see here, some of these smaller twigs were, like this is a gray birch stump that started resprouting. And I cut that back, looks like probably last year. Gray birch need a lot of light, so eventually those sprouts will probably die off, once this becomes a bit more shaded with the fir trees. So a lot more green here. Not only am I looking for that sort of visual and sound barrier between myself and the neighbors, I just think the edge of the field looks a lot better, particularly in the wintertime when it's lined with greenery versus green and a bunch of bare leaves. In the summertime it's all green, it looks fine, but for most of the year we have no leaves on the trees, and it's nice to have the evergreens. There's a couple more spots down there, I think, and then we'll just swing around back and pick up those logs on the way out. So what I'm doing with this, what I call our ATV trailer, four-wheeler trailer, because I normally hook it to our Yamaha Grizzly ATV, occasionally on this small tractor, which we've only had for I guess 2, maybe 3 years now. But I'm collecting the cedar logs, the rest of the cedar logs that I cut. The biggest one was here. Thankfully, cedar is very light. Otherwise, I would have really struggled to put it in. You can see I lifted the 3-point hitch up to minimize how much I was lifting and easily slide it in, sort of at an angle. But the ground is still wet. The grass really has just started growing within the last week. But once that gets going, that should really help to dry the fields and the lawn out. And the trees have started to bud. As you can see, some of the red maples, the red buds have come out. And you'll see in the woods it's very muddy as well. So when the trees start growing, that will sort of absorb a lot of that moisture as well. But in the meantime, I want to get this cedar project done. I want to get these delivered to the mill. My big tractor is overkill for this. And my log loading trailer is pretty heavy, would cause ruts, even though it has the flotation tires. And it's full of firewood right now. So the reasonable option was the small tractor. This is just a 20 horsepower tractor. It's a very manual one. It's not hydrostatic. It's a manual, non-synchronized transmission. I really like it, and I just wanted to go simple. I'm really not a big fan of hydrostatic tractors. So let's go and collect the rest of these logs. So this little tractor does struggle quite a bit in the woods. The front axle doesn't have as much tilt before it hits the frame, so that causes a little problem with sort of all four wheels getting traction. And you see here some fir logs, which I need to wait until I can bring the big tractor in for these, as well as the log loading trailer. So this is going to have to dry up quite a bit. You saw me spin a little bit, perhaps coming in. I am going to put these on the forward side to try to give myself a bit more tongue weight, perhaps more traction with the little tractor, and hope I can get it back out when this has all the logs on it that I'm collecting. So these were cut before I had to go to Plan B, which was deliver these to a bigger, different sawmill. They just do different products. So I was limited to an 8-foot long log. So these 6-foot ones, these shorter ones, are not going to make it. And the other limitation is the small end has to be at least 6 inches in diameter. And only one of them is 6 inches. The others are all less because the fence mill that I was going to originally bring these to accepted down to a 4-inch diameter. So this one will come, and the other ones will stay. Maybe I'll bring them to the other mill and they start buying logs again. So those will stay there. There's a couple poles for my corduroy road. Some more fir for commercial sawmill. And a couple of sticks of red maple firewood over there as well. Alright, well that's actually it. I don't think I forgot anything. So I'll just bring these back to the big trailer, load them on with the rest of the material, and head to the mill. Well, I really wanted more of a full trailer. But things got the best of me, I guess, and I didn't get there. But I want to get this done. So the front bunk are all 8-footers. There are 4 10-footers, and then this lone 12-foot piece. Alright, so I'll hook up my truck, strap these in, and we'll head on the road. Well, we're all loaded up, ready to go. Thought I'd point this out. I think I'd mentioned this before, but this is an Anderson type weight distributing hitch. So the basically this rubber plastic sort of squishy washer grommet bushing takes the place of the springs that are traditionally here, like a little, almost like a little leaf spring. So this allows it to flex, and this will just squish a bit. There's one on the other side. It turns. There's also an anti-sway sort of resistance inside that, so that helps with the anti-sway. But it works really well. I like it a lot better than the old ones. It's quite a bit more expensive to purchase, but they're so much easier to hook up, to back. Well, behind those buildings is the mill that I was going to bring this material to. But you can see they have quite an inventory of logs, and the big sign out there that says currently not buying logs. We have arrived. Much bigger logs than I have. Well, this is new to me, a Western Star. It's a 2001 4964 F is the model. Comes with an aftermarket tag axle or drop axle. It was registered at 60,000 pounds in the state of Vermont. I guess you can add an additional 9,000 pounds with the extra axle for a total of gross weight of 69,000 pounds. The bed 16 foot I delivered it here to a garage just to have someone more knowledgeable than myself go over it. Make sure there's nothing wrong with it. Prepare it for an inspection sticker. When I get it back to my house, I'll probably do some cosmetic work like this, as well as the cab. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the cab. This is where I bought it from, New Hampshire. Those are just stickers, so I'll take those off or sand them off. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just sort of duplicate the black there on the door and leave everything else alone, or do my own paint job. I'm not sure. So when I get it back to my house and it's been gone through by the mechanic, then I will do a more thorough walkthrough of the truck and its features, what I intend to use it for. I did spend a good part of the early part of this year. I retired in January from my regular job, and for about 4 weeks took a CDL course, and I got my CDL license, which is only a couple weeks ago now, so I can legally drive this thing on the road. So I'll explain what my intent is there when we meet up again when this truck is back in the yard. So the next little cleanup project I have is, actually it's mostly going to be cutting standing but dying fir trees and one spruce. But before I do that, I did have a couple blowdowns that fell over after I took care of those in an earlier video that were actually just over there. So there's a fir here, which I probably can get at least one log with that 5-inch minimum diameter. And this is a popple, which I think I've already limbed up there, that I'll drag out for firewood. So my tractor's right there in the field, but I have a road over there. You can see some other firewood logs that I dragged out here, so I think that's the easiest way to drag these things out. So for now, I'm just going to limb them up, cut them to length. If I can salvage a 12-foot pole for my corduroy road, I will do that as well. Well, I didn't end up with much. 2 16-foot firewood pieces here, this popple. The only thing I was able to get out of this fir was one 12-foot pole for my corduroy roads. Went into a double top here, and not too far up there, it just got way too small in diameter, like 1 or 2 inches. So back here at the butt, I would have had enough, but it was just a little bit punky. By the time it cleared up, which is right about here, I didn't have enough for 16 feet because of this crook. If I had been able to use the entire length, yes, but this crook here sort of took a smaller saw log out of the question. And I did take down this gray birch, that's where the fir tree fell between this cedar and the gray birch. So got to take the gray birch down anyhow. 2 firewood pieces out of that. So now we'll just haul them out. Well, there's 4 more pieces for firewood. There's the corduroy road pole. Add to that, there's some more down that road in there. But I'm not going down there with the big tractor. It's just too muddy and messy. You saw that earlier with a smaller tractor. So I'm just gonna take care of some fir that I can reach from the field, which is not nearly that muddy. It's a little soft, but it shouldn't be too bad. So the next few trees I have to cut are really right around here. There are some soft spots, but I think I can minimize damage as far as getting these trees down, getting them where I can grab them later with a log trailer. This is one I've had my eye on for a while. It still has green leaves on it, needles, but it's all just weird. It's sort of got some ingrown neighbor there. The one to the left of it, you can see the top was broken off. It's got multiple stems now. Take that one down. One of these, in fact, I think it was, yeah, this one here. One of the tops blew off. Recently, it's in my road here. I haven't had a chance to clear it out yet, but I'll do that now. So I think I'll take those 2 to the right down and leave that one. Of the 3, it looks the healthiest, and if it looks like it's dying, I'll take it down some later date. This one, I mean, there's some rot there. You can see at the bottom. It doesn't look the best. I don't know what that ingrown stuff looks like on the inside. That may just all be junk. This one, hopefully, will have a good log or 2. So this sort of, this is a weird little inlet into the field. That's all mowable field. In fact, I'm going to have it mowed for hay for the first time this year. It's had a lot of brush over the years. I've cleaned the brush up. Mowed the grass for several years now, so it's in pretty decent condition for haying. But this little inlet here just didn't make sense, so I'm just letting it grow up into forest. You can see some older firs there. So I'll dump this one here. If it ends up being rotten wood, then that's fine. It'll just stay here, and I'll cut it up and it'll stay here and rot. Yeah, I think this is going to be a lost cause. Except that it'll make a little bit more light for these other youngsters that want to grow up to be big boys and girls. Part of the rot might have come from the barbed wire, so I cut the stump so high. Yeah, could tell as soon as I cut into it, it was really rotten. We'll see. I mean, there's a small chance it may clear up. I'll cut it and see. This one here is going to be quite a challenge to fall that way, which would have been ideal. But I think I can fall it that way across the road, same as where that limb was that we just looked at. So that'll be good. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take all these down. All 3 of them. Guessing they probably will all develop rot if they haven't already. Now this one looks more promising than that one was. I'll probably take a little bit of a cookie off here, measure out, and probably only get 1 16-foot log because it branches off there pretty quickly. So there's 2 of the 3. Here's my barbed wire. So this one, it'd be nice to drop it in the same direction so I don't have to disturb those saplings. I think I can do that. Bit of a challenge. So I'll clean this one up and then just drop this one hopefully on top of that. As promising as that one looked at the butt end, Up at the top, when I cut it to a 16-foot log, the top of it was really punky in the middle. Maybe be able to make out some of the darker brown there towards the heart or towards the center. So I'm left with this guy, which is quite a bit of a leaner. So it is leaning hard in that direction, but I'd really like to fell it there. The only thing that might end up an issue is if this is rotten or for some other reason the hinge breaks, then it would likely go that way. But either way, it's safe, not going to hurt anything, except maybe some of those trees. So let's see if we have any better luck with this guy. Yeah, I think the hinge is too thick, which is fine. Just cut it back until it falls. So I think what happened here basically went where I wanted it. The hinge actually would have had to go that way, but it broke. What I didn't do is it hit here and busted the hinge before it was too far down. So it allowed this side to pull up, go that way. So I could have done better if I had just made a wider notch. But this does look sound, nice and clean. It smells good too. Little bit of a crook, but I don't think it's that bad. It's a bigger log. So same thing, limit up and see what we have for a log. One log out of, I think, 4 trees, right? If you include the blowdown one that we started with. And it's not even the best log. It's not bad. It's got a little bit of a crook. But on the bright side, well, no pun intended, it did remove the shade, so there's more light for these younger trees in the understory here to take off maybe a little bit faster. And I did clean up that branch that was across the road. I'll probably at some point break the branches up, or they can just stay there. So with this one, you can see the cables on it. I decided just to drag it up there. It's still quite soft, and if I came down here with the grapple on the front, picked up this log with the front tires in particular, because they're not as wide, they're not as big, I really would cause a lot of ruts here. So at the expense of getting this log a little bit muddy, I think it's best for the conditions here to drag it up. So I have several other trees in this area I want to take down that are just not healthy, like that one. You can see it's got some witch's broom up there. It's sparse compared to the others, which have richer green, thicker foliage. Maybe even some of those back there. Those look dead. I'm pretty sure they had green needles last year, so I'll take them down and see what they look like. I also have a spruce right there, which sort of surprised me. Spruce doesn't normally die young, but I'll take that one down. It'll allow me to make this ditch a little bit better, because I had to sort of go around it. That's what did it in, is me digging around the roots. For now, I am tuckered out. It's warm, it's in the 60s. I don't like warm weather. I don't like summer logging, if you want to call this logging. And I also gave blood yesterday, those double reds or power reds, where they take 2 units. They keep your red blood cells, but they gave me back the plasma and platelets. I'm thankful for that, but I'm missing those red blood cells. Really tuckers you out. So I think I'll come back in the morning. It should be cooler. I'll be refreshed, and we'll take these down and see what they look like. Well, we are back out here. It is the next morning. It is, well, actually the next day. It's actually not morning. It rained this morning, which I didn't realize it was supposed to. Seems a bit cooler, but there is a nice breeze that helps, and I've rejuvenated somewhat, so I must have some more red blood cells running through my system. So where we left off, we're looking at this tree here, which is looking sickly. There are 4 in the back there, the taller ones that are also, I think, towards their end of life. Another thing that I read about with fir is as they get older and towards their end of life, the very tops grow more like a cylinder rather than a pyramid. So you can see that on 2 of those. That one, the top actually broke off. Not so much that one there, but it's the same age, I'm guessing. And I have a lot of young ones there in the base of it that can take off. This one here is another one that I think we pointed out yesterday is a bit sickly. You can see that same sort of cylinder shape as opposed to the one next to it to the right there, which still is growing that pyramid type or triangle shape at the top, as well as those firs over there. Spruce, like that, has a completely different look. I do have one spruce I'm going to take down. So I'm going to review these now. So I'll just cut trees from here on out, which is that one right there, which I was sort of surprised, a bit disappointed in because I thought it was a nice tree. But you can see how thin it is in the top compared to, say, that spruce there. They're both red spruce as far as I know. And that'll make the ditch, as I mentioned, I think earlier, a bit easier. So let's take this first one down and see what sort of merchantable logs we can get out of it. Well, I got one decent log out of it. Really weird shaped. It's almost like it has flutes. A little bit of a twist to it, it looks like. Fast grower in its early years. Slowed down quite a bit recently. So I cleared this because this is the road down there. That's the area we were working yesterday. And then between this road and that road, which sort of hugs that tree line over there, it's just gonna, I'll let it grow up into forest, so that's where the slash will go. But you can see how muddy it is. So before I take that spruce down, which is over that way, you can just barely see it, I guess, through there. Got diverted here over to my swamp, and this is a swamp. This is so wet, even in a drought in the summertime, it generally is going to be wet. So this is an uproot. Good indication here of just how shallow the soil and the roots go. Look at that. I mean, I don't think that's any more than 6 inches deep. So I don't know if this wood is going to be any good. It does have the green needles, so I think it was probably late in the summer perhaps that this was blown down. You can see here, I was out here before years ago and sort of trimmed some of the lower branches. So I'll explain why I'm going to wait on that tree. I want to cut this off first, see if this is salvageable. If not, it'll just stay like this as is, like a lot of the others that have fallen down. If not, I'll drag it out that way. So this is that spruce that I'm going to take down. These two firs will come down. They're just sort of in the way. But it has a definite lean to my left, and I think the best way to drop it is right there. But if I do that, the top will be here. I'll just cut it up and leave the top here. I did sort of make a little bit of a swale here next to the road. This has fabric and gravel on it, which is why it is always firm. I always have good access here, even though this is swampy stuff there and swampy over there. But right there is that uproot. So if I was to drop this one first, granted I could still do it, but it'd just be a little bit of a mess to work around to haul that out. So I'm going to cut the butt off of that. I'll park my tractor here. I'm not going to try to back the tractor in there. I don't think that would be good news. And drag the tree out here, assuming it has sound wood. This turned out to be a sound log. Just a little bit of punkiness there, but it was quickly going away after I cut 10 inches off or so. So it'll quickly go away, I'm guessing. The top of it I cut at 33 feet. Look good. So I have two 16-foot logs with a 6-inch trim for each. So the root ball sort of fell back into place after I cut it off. And this one, which had been laying on the ground, is now upright, and that is a nice spruce. And is it white spruce or red spruce? I think it's red spruce. I don't smell any cat. So it's not cat or white spruce, I don't think. So I have the snatch block over there because I'd like to preserve this tree if I could. And if I just pulled it straight where my tractor is, I'm afraid the butt would just demolish that little spruce. So I'm hoping that we can at least move the butt over to there so I can pull it straight, clear of any younger trees. The snatch block does have a self-releasing feature. Oftentimes I don't use it, which is the case now, because I have the log positioned where I want it. If I kept pulling, it would just be way out of sight over here. I did position my tractor off a bit to the right so that the cable wouldn't rub on that a little further there. Manually. I added this little feature to it, which is this little V, so that I could hook it the way you saw me unhook it. Otherwise, this was sort of permanently attached to there. And this is rather heavy, so to sling this around a tree with this attached to it, at least for me, is a bit cumbersome, so I made these two separate things. And I like it a lot. That tree had quite a lean to it, actually, to the left here rather than that way. It did have a slight lean that way. So I left the hinge thicker so that it was less likely to break off and then decide to fall that way, which would have done more damage, and I didn't want that. But in a case like this, you know, if pounding the wedge in doesn't work, well, then I just slowly cut back the width of the hinge until it fell over, hoping it goes in the right direction. So I guess you could make the argument this might be considered a pasture spruce. It does have a lot of limbs, but they're not nearly as ugly or as big as some of the worst ones I cut. And if I remember right, the logger or the forester had marked trees that were very similar to this for cutting. So I'm guessing it's commercially viable. All right, well, I'll trim this up, see what we have for logs. It looks like pretty sound wood. Again, a fast grower. Can probably make out the rings here in the nice sunlight. Grew rapidly up until about there. So I'm guessing that was probably half or maybe 25% of the time it took to grow there, as did there. Really slowed down. Looks like it had a couple good years. Granted, this is exaggerated because it's near the root flare. But then look at that, I'd say the last 10 years, it was, you know, like 1/8 of an inch in diameter a year. There it is, trimmed up. 2 nice 16-foot logs. Here's the mark for the center cut. The end tapered down very quickly, and you can see the branches remained basically the same diameter. So for a couple reasons, I chose not to make another log. I probably could have, but you can see there the knot size compared to the diameter to me is just not good. Here the knot size compared to the diameter is small, and the further in down you go with an older tree like that, the smaller that knot, the smaller that branch was in its younger years. So I cut a 12-foot pole for my corduroy road at the top, and this section here is just going to be wasted. It's too big in my preference for use of a corduroy road, and not really good for anything else. You can see the woodpecker holes, so all kinds of sap. Yeah, the top was really in bad shape. You can see we did bury a little bit, the 2 logs we just dragged out. I don't know if you could see it on the camera if it was above your field of view, but when this tree fell, it hit pretty hard on this fir, which was already a bit damaged, some logging scars from years ago, and I noticed this crack here. So that crack, I think, was fresh from this, but I'm guessing inside there, I can almost see it. It looks pretty rotten, so this tree will come down as well. As you might be able to tell, I'm sort of sweating like a pig. The sun's been out for a little bit, so it's really warmed up. I don't like summer logging. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. For a couple reasons. One is, well, today, for the first time, the black flies are actually out. I don't think I've got bitten by one, but boy, they're an annoyance just flying around your head. The other thing with summer logging is the pitch. Not so much on this, because I think the pitch was more dry. But with the fir logs I cut yesterday, it just spatters me with the pitch. I'll get it on my neck. And so I have chainsaw pants on underneath, which are thick enough, so they don't help the insulation factor and me keeping cool. But the thing with those pants is you can't wash them too often, because the Kevlar that's inside them, I think, can sort of ball up and then sort of become useless after too many washings. So I almost always try to put something over top of my chainsaw pants to protect them. If I'm cutting hardwood and it's warm out, then I'll just wear the chainsaw pants. That's fine, because pitch is not an issue. Well, this black stuff is all pitch, and it really actually provides a lot of drag going through the logs, through the trees, through the woods, almost like sticky tape. All right, I'm back out here. This is several days later, much more comfortable, quite a bit cooler, probably 10, maybe 15 degrees cooler. It's been raining almost every day. Not a lot of rain, but just enough to keep things mushy and muddy, which is why I haven't been out here. Although we did do another cord and a half or so of firewood between raindrops. So when we left last, I had taken that tree down. This one here, it got bumped a little on that spruce is way down to the ground. Big cut here, so I'm taking this down. And guessing because this is already split, this would be one of those that would be perhaps susceptible to a barber chair. So to do that, I'm going to just cut at a comfortable height here because they'll salvage wood down here. I'll cut that afterwards just to get it low and out of the way. So I'll just cut it here. I'll cut my notch, bore cut in, and then work my way back. That should eliminate the barber chair, and then release the tab here when I'm ready to have it fall. Well, that's interesting, as I was cutting this a little bit closer to the hinge. Pinch my bar enough, so guessing this wood back here is really weak. Well, hopefully I can take my other chainsaw and cut this off, not hit the chain on here. Yeah, there should be enough room there. Oh wow, I hear noises. Well, that's probably as good a scenario as I could have hoped for. No damage done to the saw. No damage done to me. And this is still off the road comfortably, so I'm hoping that rot will clear up. It's a pretty nice tree, so even if it takes 8 feet to clear up, I'll still have a couple logs, I think. So I'll do the nasty job of limbing this rather numerous limbed tree, and we'll be back. Well, this log did clear up. This is the spruce, so ignore that one. But yeah, it went from that, and it did. It probably took 8, maybe 10 feet to a nice sound. I only got one 16-foot log. I guess my judgment of length there was not the best. It got a bit too small in the second 16-foot log. So while I'm here, that's a dead tree. I'll probably leave that unless it gets in the way. Tree to the right probably is the healthiest of this bunch, so I'll leave that one. But this one here, I'll take down. That one here, I'll take down in part because, yeah, the way it's leaning now, it'll eventually blow over or break or uproot or something. It'd fall right in the road. So if I take it down now, I can probably do myself a little bit of a favor and at least fall it across that way, so most of the top is off the road, and I'll just have a little bit of stem to clean up. If I don't get a log, it doesn't look that promising because it's rather rotten. And then the spruce, of course the spruce are healthy, I'll leave those. I may take that one down, maybe make a pole or two out of it from my corduroy road, which is the small fir to the right, and leave the spruce there to the left. So 2 logs out of that one. Next thing I'm going to do is take that junk tree there that's sort of growing through the limbs of the much better red spruce. I don't want to fall it that way because it'll damage some of those trees. I'm not sure it would fall anyhow. I think it's tangled up in the branches pretty well. So my plan is just to cut it, get it off the stump, and then just pull it roadside here. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll cut this back until I get where I think I might be able to squeeze out a relatively straight 16-foot log. I know some of you may say, well, save this for a pole, but you know, this is 9 inches or so, 8 or 9 inches. It's just too big. It's just too big for the poles that I want to use for the road. It'd be a significantly different diameter than the other ones that would be adjacent to it, so I'm just not going to do it. So unfortunately, or more fortunately, just going to be waste like a lot of this other rotting debris. Not bad, it's good for the soil. So I think this is a decent 16-foot log. This is more my size for a 12-foot pole. Still a little big to manhandle, which is what I do to put them in place. But I wanted to show you here how hard this was rubbing on some of those branches. In fact, you can see one there, I think, with the bark sort of rubbed off. Another up here. It's relatively superficial, so it's not going to impact the quality of the log or the lumber. That's a third one right there. So probably lucky to get anything out of it. So this is probably well, I don't have to probably. It does look like it has just the beginnings of a bit of softness, punkiness. So that's a 6-inch log. So even if they deduct an inch for this or sweep, it's still a 5-inch log. And it's better than nothing. The other one I wanted to do is sort of this leaner. Although it's very rotted down here, it doesn't look too bad up there, so may get something out of it. And by the looks of this sort of flatness, I think this might have been a logging scar. I don't think it was from me, although I did contribute some to this one, which had logging scars on the side of it, rubbing trees as I was pulling them out this way. So I'll get my tractor out of the way. I'll sort of fall this one as much as I can straight across the road, so I can dump all the slash over there. Huh. Doesn't look too bad. Obviously where this, yeah, it's pretty obvious this is a logging scar. You can see the healing starting to do that, and the center has a little bit of darkness, but I don't really think it's punky. That hinge was nice and thick. So I should be able to get at least one log out of this. That's kind of nice. I'll limb it up and we'll come back. Alright, so that tree netted 2 logs. There's a bit of a sweep right here, but not too bad. So 2 16-foot logs and a 12-foot pole at the end. But I can't pull this out easily full length. I could probably make it over the stump, but what I don't want to injure is this nice spruce, which is apparently taking that one's place. So I've cut that first log off, and I'll come back after I take these out into the field, and I think I can drag this one up and miss this, even if I ruin some of the fir. That's okay. So then in this twitch or pull or whatever you want to call it is that single log, this double log, that single log, and this single log. So this will be the last tree we take in this area, but before we do that, because I'm going to cover it up, at least temporarily, just wanted to show you this off camera. I sort of pushed some of this just off the road, but there's the difference between the native soil and the road, which has fabric and probably 6 or 8 inches of gravel on top. And once I get off the road, it's sunk in about 8 or 10 inches. Alright, let's take this little fir down. I hope to drop it right in the middle of that pile of crap. I don't know, maybe it'll hit this tree and take it with it. Well, that was a little surprising. Not where it fell, that's fine. I sort of aired to the left, so it did take a little bit of that tree down, but not the whole thing. But the surprising part to me was the stump was relatively sound. I was going to cut off that little bit of, there's like another, a tree that's grown through that stump there that died years ago. And I cut that off, and the rot, the punkiness sort of got worse and worse. So I don't know if that'll clear up. I kind of don't think so. So I did manage to get out a 16-foot log here. I think it'll be fine. And now that I sort of cleared the road a bit, with the exception of that red maple, I should be able to take this with a grapple and bring it up there. So the next one is this one. This was a live, vibrant tree. It's still alive, but it's just not vibrant. Red spruce. I'm guessing some of the cause of that has to do with doing so much work around here. It probably disturbed the roots enough. You can see the pond there. I have a road that goes to the right there. Down that way, which we'll head in a bit, that's where the first corduroy road that I laid down is. And I plan to ride over it for the first time with the tractor, hoping it'll settle those poles into the mud. And the other thing in this area is this section of road, which I struggled with a little bit late last fall. But I think I had mentioned in a video or two ago that this is firmed up nicely. So I may top coat this again with some gravel or some native clay just to make it smooth, but it's much more solid than it was. This is the area where I took some poles from. I cut a lot of red maple to sort of remove some of the overstory, not all of it. Generally, a gentle release is better than an abrupt release for the, in this case, the red spruce growing beneath it. But they have a lot more light than they did. And then perhaps in another 5 or 10 years, I'll take down some more of the red maple and open it up even more. So 2 decent logs there. The butt log has just a little bit of a sweep in it, but it's a pretty big log, so even if it's deducted for sweep, it'll still yield some board footage. So this area is cleaned up nicely, and there's a couple of trees there ready to take the place of that one that we just took down. Most interested in this, which is probably offspring of that one. I'm guessing it's a red spruce. It could be white, and then some fir trees. All right, let's head down this road and let's see how the corduroy road's going to make out. Well, this is not really what I had expected. I really thought that this was gonna squish into the mud a lot more than it has. It could be that there's just the bedrock is too shallow, but then as soon as I got off this, sunk in the mud a little bit, that's not nearly as bad as would have last year down this section of road. And it obviously disheveled a lot. So, I'm not sure what I think about corduroy roads. I know several viewers have swear by them. They really like it, and I'm sure done right, they work very well. But for whatever reason, it doesn't appear as though I've done things right. So it's also possible that the ground is still frozen. I know, like, if you have a sawdust pile in the wintertime, sometimes it's June before the snow and ice beneath that sawdust pile will melt. And here it is the beginning of May. So it's possible it's still frozen, so I'll probably do this little exercise again, in 2 or 3 weeks. But I think what I'll end up doing, particularly if it sort of stays like this, is just top it with some native clay that I have available. But I guess either way, it will have done its job, which is make this passable without getting mired in the mud. So even if this sort of stays up where it is and I top it, the road is going to be a lot higher than the surrounding area. Should be plenty of space underneath for the water to run from left to right, because there's a little brook there that feeds the pond that we just drove over before we cut that tree. So I guess that will finish things up for finishing up loose ends. I'm not sure how many loose ends I finished up, except maybe the cedar. The fir, I think I'm done the fir. I need to collect it, figure out how much board footage I have. I want to make sure I have at least enough for, say, a triaxle truckload, because it's about an hour and a half drive to the concentration yard that I sell it to. So I want to make sure I have an even number of loads, whether it be 1 or 2 or whatever. So I may cut some more fir, but I'll probably do that off camera. It'd be similar to what I've been doing. So I appreciate you tagging along for this exciting adventure. For me, I guess it was exciting. Hope you stay tuned for future videos. Thank you.